Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing for Friday, the 21st of November. I'm Derek Clark, and it brings us great joy to say that we're joined for the first time this week by a smiling Jonny McFarlane. How goes it, Jonny?
Not bad, Derek. I've been laid low by a horrible bug that has really knocked me for six for the last couple of weeks. So feeling a bit better and glad to be back on the show because I've been missing the banter.
Yes, we missed you last week, but doing the rounds, of course, this time of year. So good to have you back and 100% match fit. So lots to discuss today. Now, we're going to have a bit of a Q&A as well today, folks. So if you want to get your Rangers-related questions into myself and Jonny, please do, and we'll get through as many as we possibly can. Before we do that, just a bit of housekeeping, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the great guys at the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust, and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade. No job is too big or too small for these guys. They offer free consultations and 10% off with the code Rangers Review. And we launched it on Monday, and so many have been blown away by the uptake to our Black Friday offer on the Rangers Review website. Just £12 for a year's subscription. Now is the time to take out a subscription if you haven't already done so, folks. The all-important link is in the description below this video. You'll not be disappointed. If you want all the latest news, of course, we touched on earlier on, we brought you the set piece coach news earlier on in the week. If you want stories like that, then be sure to subscribe. There's all the stats and analysis in there, if that is your thing, as well as all the match coverage, opinion pieces, and feature articles, you name it. Everything is covered in that website. And of course, as we always say, get the app downloaded as well. That is the best way to consume the Rangers Review content. Right, let's crack on. Well, Jonny, you've not been on for a wee while. Livingston tomorrow. Rangers have got probably two favourable home matches on the horizon, you would say. No disrespect to Livy or to Falkirk, but an opportunity to put more wins together in the league at least. I know there's Braga in between next week, but Livingston tomorrow. You expecting Rangers to come back from the international break with all 3 points?
Yeah, Derek, we were just talking before we came on, and I feel pretty confident about this, what I'm about to say. I was absolutely adamant to you on this video, maybe 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, that Rangers could not win this title. That it was gone, that it was done, that it was over, and that what Rangers had to do was think about next season. And I think, on balance, that was the right take at that time, and I think it's still the most probable of takes. However, I really do now think that if Rangers can put on a run and win these next two games, Livingston and Falkirk, there is potentially an enormous opportunity to get back into this title race emerging. Hearts are hearts, and if they continue to perform like they've done, good luck to them. Well done, lads. You've done a brilliant job. Everyone knows that they've got this recruitment speciality that is going to allow them to bring in really good players. But it's one thing having a start like they've done, and it's another thing keeping it going for the entire season. I think you almost have to disregard Hearts and target finishing above Celtic. Celtic have had a very favourable run, especially since Martin O'Neill arrived. But guess what, lads? Now they're about to hit a sticky period. They've got St Mirren away, which is a nightmare at the best of times. Celtic have struggled there in recent years. And then they've got to go Hibs away, which we know is a difficult place. Hibs are a decent team this year, getting good results. I thought they were a bit unlucky in Europe in terms of not getting through further in the competitions they were in, and they were up against good teams, as we saw with Midtjylland. So I think Celtic are going to come unstuck in at least one of these games and drop a few points. There is 5 points between the two sides. That would mean more points recovered. And then, of course, after that, Hearts play Celtic, which is another opportunity to gain points on those teams. So if Danny Rule can keep the ball ruling over the next few games, I really do think there's potential there. Now, what's the big problem? The squad. Let's be honest. This squad is bad. So let's see what the manager's mettle is made of. Let's see what can be done. Can 2 consistent performances be delivered? There are problems with injury, we know that. But if they can, I think there's just that little chink of light, that moonbeam, if you will, where Rangers can get back into this title race. So I think it's just a wee bit of optimism and a wee bit of maybe the stars aligning. And you just never know, Derek. You just never know.
Well, I admire your optimism, Jonny, I've got to say. Yeah, listen, it's not mathematically impossible at this point in time. Rangers on 18 points, 12 behind Hearts, although with a game in hand, of course. Yep, 5 behind Celtic. And you're quite right, Celtic have got a pretty testing fixture this weekend. Not ideal, an 8 p.m. kickoff on a Saturday evening away to St Mirren, which has proven to be a difficult place to go for the Old Firm in recent years. So, you can only hope that Stephen Robinson and the buddies can do the business in what is a dress rehearsal for the League Cup final. So, listen, I'm with you on the squad situation. I think January is huge for Rangers. It is very important that they get players in that can take them up a level and get players in quickly. They can't allow the window to sort of drag on and negotiations to drag on. They need players in pretty sharpish. Of course, there's an Old Firm game pretty soon, as soon as the window opens, the New Year game. And Rangers need to try and move players on as well. You'd like to think, and that there's work taking place behind the scenes at this point in time to try and shape this squad in such a way to give Danny Rule a fighting chance. But you're quite right that the 2 matches, you would like to think that Rangers can go and put Livingston and Falkirk to the sword, especially at home as well. And they've got a trip to Tannadice to take on Dundee United. But this international break's given Danny Rule, I'd imagine, plenty of time to work on the training pitch. Time they never was afforded when he came in, of course, with the games coming thick and fast. He's brought in the new set piece coach as well, Jonny, which I think is a step in the right direction. Don't you agree with that?
Sorry, Derek, you cut off for me there. What's a step in the right direction?
This set piece coach being appointed this week. Do you think that is a positive sign?
Absolutely. You know that I've been advocating for that for a long time. It's something I've been whittering on about in the background. Why haven't they done this? Rangers claim to be a modern elite European team in terms of their outlook, in terms of their structures, in terms of the way they want to be organised. So I think you really have to give the club credit for actually and the manager credit for identifying this and pushing it forward. One of the big criticisms I had of Philip Clement, and people will know I've been on a couple of Norwich platforms over the last few days talking about his move there. And I did explain that one of the criticisms I had of him as a coach was this bloody-minded failure to let go of set pieces when it quite clearly wasn't working with him in charge of them, because the numbers speak for themselves. And you look at this league, you look at the way teams get wins in this league, set pieces are absolutely crucial, massive. Now, this is a guy that's coming up from Lincoln, and people will look at that and say, what, Lincoln to Rangers? But you know what? Yeah. I think it's a little bit set pieces are set pieces, Derek. You know, if you're good at organising the structures and you're creative, I think that can absolutely apply. And let's be honest, you know better than me, underneath Rangers, Celtic and Hearts, League One is better than the Scottish Premiership. So I don't know why people are getting kind of snooty about it. Lincoln scored 30 goals last season from set pieces. I think the top performing Scottish team got 18. So I always like to think that there's a really nice coaching idea in the notion that set pieces should be your top scorer. I'm old-fashioned like that, Derek. And I find as I get older, I'm becoming more and more old-fashioned about football. I'm turning it into you, basically. I'll be calling for Neil Warnock to be the next boss after Danny Rule.
Steady.
But set pieces, they're not pretty. It's not the glamorous part of football, but there's some truisms that don't change in Scottish football and haven't changed in the 44 years I've been watching the game here. And that is one of them, that set pieces is crucial for Scotland. So it's great to see the club finally moving in the direction of other elite clubs and appointing someone who can take care of that.
Yeah, totally agree. I would like to see a bit of invention. I said yesterday, I'm wanting to see yeah, a bit of creativity tomorrow at least. So looking forward to that. A few comments coming in. Let's come to those. Campbell says, I love it when Jonny's on because it always runs a bit longer. So there you go. And George says, sitting here drinking coffee out of my Rangers review mug, waiting on Jonny's take on things. Yes, you can get yourself a Rangers review mug, folks. We do have a shop on the website as well. And yeah, they're good mugs too. So thank you for buying the merch, George. And hopefully you are enjoying the show this morning. Yes, Jonny?
Hot coffee and hot takes, Derek. That's what we provide.
Yes, absolutely. You get your money's worth, that's for sure. Bob says, Jonny, we're picking up points again, but we need to keep the heat, is
Absolutely.
what he says on that front. One game at a time, the old mantra, I think, with regards to that at this point. And you mentioned there, Clement, I'm pleased you did so, because I'm keen to get your take on that surprise appointment, you could say, this week. I didn't see that coming. Paul says Big Clement will do well down at Norwich. I think he will do pretty well down there. I think you'll see an upturn, and usually gets that, Clement, when he goes into a team. You see it. You've seen it at Rangers, of course, an immediate upturn in results. So yeah, he's down there with Stefan van der Heyden, of course, who was at Rangers with him. He's got a big job on his hands. The Championship is an unforgiving league, but Norwich are a bit of a sleeping giant down there, and yeah, there'll be expectations on him. They've been a bit behind the scenes. They've not been the best at Norwich, but can you see Clement getting them back up and firing again, Jonny?
I can, and I predict he will. Because Derek, I don't know if you reported from a game down there. Have you been to that stadium?
I've done a couple of games down there. Yeah.
It's you know, they're actually quite a big club. You know, I think it's 34,000 in that stadium. It's always sold out. That's a one club city. I would go to say town there, but I got told off for doing that on one of the videos that I did. You know, Norwich is slightly unusual in England in that it's quite isolated. There's not much around it. You know, it's one road in, one road out, and there's not any other cities around there for maybe 30, 40 miles. So, you know, it's really, really a passionate fan base. This is a team that is almost in my lifetime always been in the top flight or challenging for the Championship title. Bit of a yo-yo club, but certainly been in the Premier League quite a lot. And I think Philip Clement will look at it and say, well, this is an incredible opportunity. The 23rd, they can't go any further down under his watch unless there's serious structural problems there. So I think he'll look at it and say, look, I can easily get this team back to an even keel. And if they're on an even keel, I've got a really, really decent chance of getting to the playoffs and getting into the Premier League. And the one thing about Big Phil is he's got that talent for going up against teams that are as good as they are or better. And we saw that in that really, really terrific Europa League run where Rangers qualified in the top 8. You know, they're going up against Spurs, going up against Manchester United. Remind me of the other teams, Derek, but there was a few right good teams that were faced on that 8-game run. Yeah. And Rangers were not outclassed in any of them, and in fact, more than held their own, obviously going to France and winning, I think 4-1 was it?
Yeah, should have been 5-0, to be honest. Dessers missed a chance right in front of goal, and then he scored a free kick, I think, late on.
I think we know that Big Phil, his problem is he's not a natural low block coach. No. He's not the guy to take over a team and make it up one that pulverizes a league. That's not his strength. But that's not where Norwich are. Norwich are 23rd. So, you know, I think you look at him and you think, yeah, he's going to be a good addition for them. He was brilliant for Rangers for 6 months. Absolutely brilliant. And, you know, the wheels came off. I don't blame him. I blame that squad. I don't think it was quite good enough. I think there was a couple of bad apples in there. And ultimately, they just couldn't quite get it over the line. But he did win the League Cup. The second season, I know people say, oh, you know, he started to whitter on nonsense at the press conferences and things like that. I just think the pressure started to get to him because he didn't have the squad to bail him out of the holes that he was in. Yeah. And people will point to Queen's Park and say, you know, well, he can't lose to Queen's Park at Ibrox. Totally agree. You had to go at that point. But at the same time, that was a game where Rangers had 30 shots on goal and didn't score any. You know, missed a penalty in the last minute. Pulverised Queen's Park for almost the whole game. They had one shot on goal and scored. So it was a bit of a freak. And I don't think he's a manager in Europe, Derek. I don't know if you would disagree or not. I really don't think there was someone else that could have come in and won the league last year. The club is a basket case. Yeah. From Hampden, from Bisgrove leaving, from Bennett going. The whole place was absolute chaos. No sporting director. It was not set up for Philip Clement to fail, and you cannot blame him. And one last thing on Philip Clement, I don't want to go over old ground the whole time. I know people have strong feelings on it. I don't think there'll be many Rangers fans, if any, that believe that if Philip Clement was given £35 million, he wouldn't have made a bloody good fist of the league this year.
Yeah. And also, the Europa League wouldn't have been a write-off that it's been this season. It shows you how big an achievement that was last year to get into the top 8, given the teams that Rangers had to face. And you look at the shambles of performances we've had to endure this season. They really were punching above their weight and then some. World's Grace DJ says, let's be having you. Yeah, we'll be working with Delia down there, of course. So that'll be quite something. And always like being corrected on the show. James Butler says, Carrow Road, capacity 27,000. So there you go. There or thereabouts. He always likes to pick up on mistakes, as old James. But there you go. Right. What was that you had up? What was that you had up?
A guy saying there, Cantwell, Sutton, Partridge, someplace Norwich. That's a fair point. I take it all back.
Yeah, good old place. I do enjoy going down to Carrow Road. It's it takes an absolute age to get there, right enough. But yeah, they are a passionate, like you say, a passionate city. That the clue is in the name, and yeah, their fans will be expecting an upturn. They've had a disastrous season under Liam Manning, hence why he was sacked, and I don't think they're too happy with their sporting director as well. But yeah, good luck to Phil. He's taking on Birmingham City. It's in Andrews tomorrow. Do you see that? Just we digress slightly, Johnny.
I did see the stadium, yeah.
Yeah, nuts, isn't
it? Yeah, not for me.
No, not having it.
It looks like a Quidditch stadium, from Harry Potter. It's very strange. I can't see that happening. I think it looks. I know it's a nod to the industrial history of Birmingham. It's a nice idea. I'll be amazed if that whole surrounding ring with the big funnels goes ahead. I can't see it. It's very Americana. Look at this amazing, massive thing that will cause debate and get everyone energized. And it's like Man United. Remember, they had the sort of the 3 spikes for the Red Devil.
Yeah,
and they quickly said, "Oh, that we're actually not going to do that kind of at all. We'll just take that part out." And I would be surprised if that didn't happen with Birmingham.
Yeah, just staying on the topic of Birmingham. See, Barry Ferguson named in the greatest ever 11.
Yeah, I have to say, Derek, that took me aback when I saw that on the Rangers Review Facebook page, because I don't know if this is just me, but I sort of see Barry as a bit played out by the time he left Rangers. I know he went down there and won the League Cup. I think that's probably just reflecting my own ignorance of what was happening down there after he left. I kind of felt like Barry was just so badly decimated by injuries and age. Because remember, this is a guy that was playing football from being a young boy in a tough environment, and that does take its toll. So I kind of had him down, Barry, as kind of by 31, 32, he was maybe really, really diminished. But clearly not, because Birmingham have had some right good players over the years. They're not a massive club, but in a British sense, but big enough that I was a bit taken aback. Barry was only there 2 years.
Yeah.
So it shows you how fondly he was thought of. And listen, I have my opinions on Barry as a Rangers manager. I didn't think that was right, but he's never done anything but given his all for the club when he's been involved. And as a player, he really was a phenomenal player. I know I sound like an old guy, shouting at the cloud.
We've never had a midfielder like it since.
There's never been a youth player at Rangers anywhere near as good as Barry Ferguson since he came through. He was truly an incredible talent. And actually, let's be honest, he should have done more with his career. He had an amazing career, but he should have been playing at an Arsenal at that point, or a Manchester United. And I know both those clubs had been sniffing about him, which when it was Ferguson and Wenger tells you a little bit about the sheer quality Barry Ferguson had. Could have easily played in Italy, easily played in La Liga. A guy who just was able to control the tempo of a game, You could quicken it up. You could slow it down. Anyone who's watching who's maybe a little bit too young to have seen Barry Ferguson in the Advocaat years, because he wasn't quite the same player when he came back the second time. Really wasn't. By that point, the injuries had some serious injuries and he'd taken a bit of a toll. He was still fantastic. But, for me, I preferred him as that metronomic number 6, dictating the game. He was very, very good for Alex McLeish when he made him an 8. And he scored some fantastic goals in the 2002-2003 season, or 2003. Can't remember.
2003. You're right. Yep.
Yeah. But for me, those early Advocaat years, it was like, wow, watching a young Scottish player go into a team full of outstanding European talents and be the boss man. It was quite something.
It certainly was, and even when he hung his boots up, I've seen him in Legends games, and he still
looks good.
Yeah, he's quite something. Lenny Campbell quite rightly says Trevor Francis also in that Birmingham best 11, former Rangers player. It was only sadly missed incidentally, but was only at Rangers for a short spell. But yeah, he is idolised down there at Birmingham City. There's murals up of him and all sorts. But well done to Barry being named in that illustrious starting 11 for the Blues. Right, moving on, turning our attention, I guess, to tomorrow, Jonny. Now,
yes,
we are coming out the international break. Slightly concerning that John Souttar never made the Scotland game the other night, pulled up in the warm-up, and Derek Cornelius pulled up half an hour into Canada's game against Venezuela. We'll find out when we hear from Danny Rule this afternoon what the situation is with regards to those two. However, if they are missing, I guess it gives opportunities to others. Now, there's a few points coming in here. King Charles Spaniel says, what's it back, 3 or 4 for tomorrow's game? And just on sort of personnel, Robert with the point says, get Big Fernandez in tomorrow. Ideal game for him, home and Livy. But we've got to see him sometime. I think given the outlay for him, he is not a prospect for the future, a development player. The guy's in his mid-20s, and given the money that's been spent, he has to start playing at some point. What are you doing tomorrow if you're Danny Rule, Jonny?
Well, I think it says a lot about the depth of Rangers' squad that despite 2 defensive injuries to Souttar and Cornelius, who will probably miss this game, Rangers actually still have 4 pretty established defenders to pick from. James Tavernier is comfortable on the right side of a back 3. You've got Fernandez. You've got Clinton Nsiala, who I don't think should be forgotten, although he seems quite far out the picture, and Nasser Giga in there as well. So 4 guys can comfortably play in that defensive position and 3 positions to take up. So I don't think it's too much of a concern, and I think these 2 injuries have come at a reasonable time given the opposition. Livingston, I'd say, are probably the worst team in the league. It's a battle between them and Dundee for that title. Yeah. You always know that to give credit to that club and to give credit to the manager, Davy Martindale, you know they're capable of springing a surprise. You know they're capable of being well organised and causing problems. But they're just back up. They need a little bit of time to consolidate, to get their good players, bedded in that they've signed, etc., etc. And I think Rangers are getting them at a right good time. So for me, I don't see it as a potential big problem. Like I say, there's other people that can take up Tavernier's spot. I noticed that Dujon Sterling's back in training with the boys. There's a lot made of that. He's a terrific player when he's fit. If he's fit to play right wing back, although I wouldn't expect that, he's there. You've also obviously got Max Aarons. If you wanted to be more attacking, you could play one of the wingers at the right wing back, which I like the idea of, to be honest, at home against Livingston. So I think there's serious options and not a concern right now. Where I would be concerned, Derek, is if we get to a situation where Falkirk maybe a little bit more challenging, a team that goes forward, a team that asks you questions. You would like your centre halves back for that, but it's still Rangers at Ibrox. Dundee United away, completely different scenario. That's where you're going. Don't want to be without Souttar and Cornelius. For me, Souttar's been poor this season. I think most people would agree with that. He's not been at the levels that we know he's capable of. The brain farts have been coming more and more consistently. I think there's an issue there around his contract. Are Rangers just going to let him go? It speaks a lot that the club wouldn't have him tied up or wouldn't look to be tying him up, but he's the main centre half.
What would you do with that, Jonny?
Well, listen, to me, it speaks to the transients around the club and the lack of forward planning that's taken place. Genuinely, has there ever been a club that's built its back four on loan players and a guy who's going to be out of contract? Literally every single one of the back four or back five, including James Tavernier, sorry. I was going to say the exception, but including, don't know where they'll be playing next season.
Yeah.
So Tavernier's out of contract. Suter's out of contract. Cornelius is on loan. Giga's on loan. Magoma's on loan. I mean,
it's not ideal.
It's a really poor state of affairs. Every league title is built on a good defence. We know that. It's been, the case for Rangers teams across the decades. And look at the team that won 55. What was it? 9 goals or 12 goals or something like that they conceded throughout the whole season, Derek?
I think, was it 13? I might be mistaken
on that one. Tiny amount. And that's no surprise. So I think that's something that Danny Rule needs to look at in January is the roster. Can some players be sent back? Can players be brought in? I think you need to start laying down some foundations and some groundwork.
Yeah,
and bringing in players that can be part of Rangers for the next 3 or 4 years, or sold on at a mass profit that will allow Rangers to develop further. This has just been a disastrous summer, Derek. There's no doubt about that. It was done at haste. People arriving at their jobs late on, waiting to see who the manager was before committing to a transfer plan, because obviously one manager's fit might not be another manager's fit, etc., etc. I think over-reliant on the manager to provide players that he wants. You look at some of these guys that have come in, I think there's been a little bit overindulgence in the Thelwell kicking when it comes to some of these players. I think a fair whack of them are Russell Martin products, if you will. I don't think Kevin Thelwell is Max Aarons. I don't think.
But yes, Yusuf Chamiti though. That's hanging over him.
Yeah. Of course, I'm not defending Kevin Thelwell. I'm just saying that there's a lot of these players that have come in on the back of the manager. You can see the direct links between the manager's history, where the manager's been, and the arrivals at the club. I've been critical of Kevin Thelwell. I've been critical of the recruitment. But I think you have to be aware that at Rangers, the manager has the last say, the final say. And the manager vetoes and the manager suggests. And I think because of the way the club was operating, because of the way everyone was just in the door, they knew they had to have a quick turnover. I think a lot of mistakes were made, and there was too much of a focus on giving the manager what he wanted, unfortunately. Yeah. And I think we're seeing the poisoned pill of Russell Martin, I think, linger longer because of that. And we may well see it linger for some time yet, unfortunately.
Right, depressing stuff. Dana Life is doing my job for me, but he says, smash the like button, people. Absolutely. Hit that like button, folks. It helps us massively here at the channel. A few points before we wrap up today's show, just on suggestions about who will start tomorrow. Fall Victim says if Fernandes doesn't start tomorrow, I'd say the writing is on the wall for his Rangers career. That is a signing that I still scratch my head about. I just don't see why Rangers shelled out the money for that lad, and nothing against him. I just don't get it whatsoever. Ross Nielsen,
Derek, just on that, just before you go on, I think you did a piece of work that I think was telling in this whole thing, and I was concerned about Fernandes from the start, because you did a video that I watched with a Peterborough fan, and I would describe him as being bewildered and wide-eyed at the idea that someone had paid 3.5 million for this guy. It didn't fill me with confidence that, well, he's an all right player. He's fine. I mean, he makes a mistake in League One.
This was him on the video, Jonny. He was very diplomatic on the video, but bewildered is the correct term I would use for that one. And he was not alone. That the posh fans are, were made up the money that was coming in for this lad. Yeah. And given we haven't seen really anything of him of any note, you can see why. So there you go.
The reason they brought him in is quite clear. The data pinpointing him as a guy who could deal with high balls. He's probably performing above most players in Europe for aerial ability. He's a big tank, you know.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's good at heading the ball. They probably thought they were getting a kind of a Richard Gough, like Marvin Andrews type sort of aerial colossus who could come in and just take care of that. It doesn't have to be a good footballer, just take care of that aspect of the Scottish Premiership. But I don't know. Dara McAntony and Barry Fry are always in the media talking up their players. They're always in the media talking about the transfers. They love to do it because that's the business model, isn't it? It's turning over players that they bring in and sell them on a profit. And that's why McAntony's been such a successful kind of owner for a long period of time. But I thought they were marked by their complete silence on this deal. They just barely didn't say a thing, which, again, I was like, flipping out, that's a red flag. So, I don't know, listen, hopefully Fernandes makes a mockery of all this and starts to perform. But I suspect it's a poor signing.
Listen, Peterborough were struggling last season. They're struggling this season, of course, as well, down at the bottom end of League One. They had a great result last night, incidentally, beat Stockport County, who have been in the news, not by their own making in recent weeks, of course. They beat them, and now Lincoln City are top of League One, which is a bit of a surprise. So, there you go. The point there, saying that Enciala should surely get a look in from Ross. I would like to see Clinton Enciala making more of an impression on the first team. We have seen him in the training pictures, of course, so he is involved in and around the thing. I think he's been dealt a bad, an unfair hand, shall we say, from the previous manager coming in, just sort of dismissed him out of hand, never even gave him a chance in any friendlies or anything, Jonny, which I don't think was quite right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you need to give players an opportunity. You need to give players the chance to bed in. I spoke to Mark Hateley about this. Viewers of a certain age will recall that, obviously, Mark Hateley, one of the great strikers that's ever played for Rangers. In fact, he is in the top two, isn't he? Because he's the greatest ever Rangers. He's up front with Mark McCoist. And people sometimes forget Mark had a really, really difficult first season that only turned round towards the end. Now, he turned it round emphatically by scoring 2 goals in a title decider against Aberdeen and bullying the Aberdeen goalkeeper Watt to such an extent that he was a sort of gibbering wreck and threw the ball at him for the second goal. He's a tough guy, Mark Hateley. But even he, having been at AC Milan and Monaco and been at the top flight in England, came up to Rangers and struggled psychologically, struggled physically. He told me about all the different things that he did to get back into the kind of fitness that would propel him to the success that he eventually had. He put on, I think, 1.5 stone in muscle weight. He said, "I'm too light." You know, that the weight that he was in Italy and France, he was just getting knocked about. Didn't have the kind of power that he needed to take on Scottish centre halves. So there's all these sort of things that you need to do. You need to have the intelligence to adapt and change for your environment. And the irony, of course, is that Mark Hateley with 1.5 stone on, he was still lightning quick. That was the thing about Big Hateley. He was big, he was strong, he was tough, he was quick. He'd be worth about 150 million now, to be honest. I always think that, Derek. See if there was one Rangers player from the past that you look at and you go, who would be worth an absolute fortune? For me, like in the modern game, Mark Hateley, you couldn't even put a price on him, because like just the way the game is now with set pieces and pace and a striker that can like run the game themselves. That was the one thing that Rangers always had with Morelos, was a guy that could take up a back line and work a back line on his own. Well, Hateley was exactly like that, and you know he was so powerful and so strong and such a bully of defenders. You know, I think he would be a really, really hot property right now. His game would absolutely fit the way it's played nowadays. Some other players, you know, you look at someone like Ali McCoist, incredible player, underrated as a footballer, but football's changed in that the sort of poacher it's not really a role you see now, is it? You look at Miovski, for example. He's kind of like that in some ways. And as you talked about yesterday on the video, and Josh wrote about, a guy that's always looking to go in behind, play the last defender. That's just not really how teams play that often. It's kind of a specialist role now. So, yeah. I don't know how we got onto McCoist and Haitley, but
he's almost in the sort of. It's like the big number 9 is coming back into fashion, of course. Now I think Erling Haaland has helped that with regards to the big strapping centre forward being a key component of your team. Just we talked about him earlier. I think Barry Ferguson would go for big money now. Peak Barry Ferguson. I think you're talking upwards of what, £100 million these days, without giving that players what they go for in this time.
He went to the Premier League. You know, Declan Rice, for example.
Yep.
Declan Rice much better than Barry Ferguson was at 21, 22. Was Declan Rice as good as Barry Ferguson was when he was leaving West Ham? I think he's developed through playing for England, through playing for Arsenal, of course. Incredible wand of a left foot, Declan Rice. But you know, I think Barry would have been a player that would have gone for huge money. That's for sure. Maybe not 100 million, but I don't think it would be too far off in today's market.
Durant.
Well, I mean Durant, when he was first coming through, incredible. Football's just changed so dramatically, hasn't it? It's you almost, Ian Durant was a player that would have been picked up at 15 now. You wouldn't have even got to see him play for Rangers because someone would have come along, given his mum and dad a house in London, you know, giving him 20 grand a week as a kid to go down there. And that's what they do. And that's why it's so difficult for Rangers to bring through players, and Celtic, to be fair, through their youth academy. Because anyone that's in the top drawer, the ones that are marked for the first team, they've got so many suitors sniffing around. With Brexit, it's been an unintended impact that, you know, the English academies, they know they can't go out and pluck the best from Italy and France and Croatia like they had done in the past. So they're coming up here, they're going to Northern Ireland, they're going to Wales, and they're taking punts on players. But it's a really, really bad situation. You look at someone like Rory Wilson, Derek, I think would have been playing a lot of games for Rangers by now. I don't know what age he is now, 21. Still, you know,
he's not as old as that, surely. I'm Googling as we speak, but he's 19.
He's 19. Sorry, 19. I'm over
in January. He's 20 in January.
Yeah, so just about to turn 20. I look at him and think he would have been playing a fair bit for Rangers by now. A fair bit of proper men's first team action. Still, you know, fluttering about the Aston Villa youth team, Aston Villa B team, the under 23s. Is that really been the best place for him? I'm absolutely certain, by the way, his agent's done a great job for him financially, because he just signed a new 5-year deal. They do like him down there. He'll be on more money than he would have earned at Rangers. But sometimes it's that balance between
you need to look
short
away
term
from
and the long term, and backing yourself. You know, backing yourself to make an impact and then going on to have a greater career. I think the number one thing any youth player needs is minutes against men.
Absolutely.
It's the number one thing. If I have I've got a baby on the way. If I've got someone who comes along that wants to be a football player, the first thing I'll be saying is, you know, if they're good enough, you need to go somewhere where you can get minutes. There's no point in going and sitting in an academy somewhere, 16, 17, 18, 19, you want to be playing minutes, because by the time you're 20, you're set up for a long career, having been almost like an experienced player. And yeah, that's what you want.
Was that you saying you've got a baby on the way, or are you just start putting yourself in a young boy's shoes, perhaps?
No, I've got a wee one on the way in May.
Well done. Well, congratulations,
Dad.
There you go. There's some breaking news on the pod there. So well done to you. And congratulations to Mrs.
I'm really looking forward to the sleepless nights.
Yeah, I bet you've got some practice now, though, so I'm sure it'll be
yes. Second one's always easier, they say. So let's fingers crossed on that front.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, Simon, just on centre forward, he says, I'd love to have Big Purso up front now. Yeah, he was a sort of Haitley carbon copy in effect, wasn't he? I loved Dado as well. Yeah, he was sensational for Rangers. Just so unfortunate that injury sort of curtailed his time at Rangers, and certainly his final season was very injury-plagued. But there you go.
Great big guy, great big player. Mentality, that's the thing. You need that mentality, and Darryl Purcell had that in spades.
Yeah, he certainly did, and he certainly got it as well. Right, a heads up, folks, press conference time is around 2 p.m. Now, we will be on a little bit later on at 4 p.m. We're going to do a bit of an afternoon briefing later on, so we hope you can join us for that. We'll discuss the big talking points from Danny Rayle's press conference and more. So, keep your eyes peeled for the show. Make sure you're a subscriber. Make sure you hit that notification bell on our YouTube channel, folks, as well. And a big thank you to Jonny. A big thank you to you all for tuning in. And we shall speak to you later on. Bye for now.